Good afternoon, Rexburg. Welcome to episode 19 of the Rexburg Hustle. We are very excited to be here with you guys today. You'll notice the center mic is empty. Travis actually wasn't able to make it to the podcast today, but he will be joining us again next week for episode 20. And speaking of episode 20, guys, we're really excited because that will be the final episode. That will be the final chapter of the Rexburg Hustle, the Untold Stories that'll be coming out here in the next couple months. So we're really excited about this book. Again, guys, this is going to be our first 20 episodes. It's going to contain the transcript of the episode as well as the untold stories, the ones, the stories that maybe were told in the pre-show that didn't make it onto our 30-minute podcast. Guys, this is going to be an absolutely awesome book. We've been talking to a lot of our people who've been on the podcast already. They've started sharing the stories of what they're going to be putting in this book, and it's going to be an absolutely awesome book. Guys, if you remember last week's episode, it was all about the Rexburg Museum. Remember, guys, the Apollo exhibit is going on right now. Make sure to go visit that, guys. Half of it's over at the Legacy Flight Museum. The other half of it is actually at the museum, which is in the basement of the Tabernacle. So, guys, please make sure to go watch episode 18, which was all about the museum, and then go check it out because it is totally awesome. Thank you, Zach. Yes, he put it up on the screen for us. So anyway, guys, beautiful day today. Another great day here in Rexburg, Idaho. We're very excited to have Mathew Jensen on the podcast with us today. Mathew Jensen is an entrepreneur, business enthusiast is what he calls himself. He started his first business at the age of 6, and he's been working for himself whenever possible, which has been pretty much most of your life.
A
right?
good chunk of it, yeah. There's been some times where I've been just regular, have a job, but
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've always done something on the side as much as I could.
Awesome. Mathew's current business income includes video and audio production, event production, and book publishing. He's currently the owner of Faire company. Is that how you say that?
Yep, that's
okay.
correct.
Perfect. It's a multifaceted company which includes his event production and other business ventures. He started the company back in 2017 with the introduction of the East Idaho Renaissance Fair, which is actually what we're going to be talking about today. And the company has grown to include other events such as the Comet Convention and soon to be introduced the Christmas Village and some other events coming up. He's a lover of the arts, theater, and immersive, family-friendly experiences for all. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thanks.
And we actually just made the connection that he knows my wife. So
yeah, I do. I was in a Rexburg Community Theater production of The Christmas Carol when I first got to Rexburg with her.
Yeah, that is so funny. So there's happens to be a picture in our office that has my wife in it, and he recognized her. So now we're excited to talk all about the Renaissance Fair and some other things. Before we jump into that, first, we talked a little bit in the pre-show about kind of how you came here to Rexburg. You said something that I wrote down, which is something, actually one of the reasons why we started this podcast was for this very phrase that so many people have told us as we've been involved with a lot of families in Rexburg. You said this, and I quote, are you ready? I felt like I needed to be here.
Yep.
Explain that.
Well, I served a mission in North Carolina.
Okay.
So I went out just as the LDS church changed the age. I was working.
So were you an 18-year-old missionary or 19-year-old?
I was 18.
You were an 18-year-old missionary.
I actually got a call. I was working Saturday session of General Conference.
Okay.
And I got a call from my dad, and my dad says, "Hey, they just changed the age for missionaries. You can go out when you're 18." And he says, "We want you out by November. Bye." Click. and it was just before I started like an 8-hour shift at this place that I was working at the time. And the entire 8 hours, I was like, "What the heck just happened?
I'm sure your heart just stopped.
I'm not ready. I don't have money. Like none of that stuff."
Oh
and,
my gosh!
I got off my shift, and in the time that I was working, I had like 12 calls from different people that were like, "When are you going? When are you going? When are you going?"
That's nuts.
So like some families, some church leaders, just a whole mixture of everything.
Yeah.
And so I left when I was 18. I was in the mission field for about 16 months.
Okay.
I ended up coming home because I got sick.
Oh no.
I had some health issues that I had to deal with, and so I came back, and when I got back on a Tuesday, and my parents picked me up Tuesday. I got released. I was at home on Wednesday, And on Thursday, we left to drive up to Island Park for our family reunion.
Okay.
So I'm from Colorado originally. Excuse me.
You're good.
I'm originally from Colorado. My parents are from Idaho, and
Okay.
I have a grandmother that lives in Island Park. And we usually have our family reunions in Island Park just for as long as I could remember. So we went up to Island Park, and we were there in Island Park, and I was just thinking, what am I going to do next? What should I do? And I just
Because your life, I mean, your plan of what you thought was going to happen just kind of got you're blindsided a little bit.
I got thrown for a loop. You
Yeah.
you expect to be out for 24 months and you're out 16.
Right.
It's just one of those things that you're just, hey. So I came back. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And as I was sitting there, I felt like I needed to come to school. And so I was like, hey, great. So I applied for school. And 2 weeks later, I got the email back and it said, you're rejected. And I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm supposed to go to school. I know
Yeah.
I'm supposed to go to school. And so then I felt like I needed to be in Rexburg. So I came to Rexburg, got a job, got a house. I was within 3 days of getting to Rexburg. I had a house, I had 3 roommates, and I had a job.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really nice, actually. It turned out really well. And I just kept applying for school, and then I got into school. The whole time I was working and I was running my side businesses while I was working full time and just living, essentially. Just going to church, trying to get involved in activities, just kind of get involved in, I got a lot really involved in the community theater and things like that. So then, next thing you know, 5 years later, here I am.
We were talking about that. He's like, man, I've been here for 5 years. I'm like, I've been here 11. It goes fast. The
Every
time
time
passes
I try
so
to
fast.
leave, there's just something that keeps me here. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
There's something here that I need, and that's always been the consensus. That's always been the
Something
feeling.
you need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something that I need to learn, that I need to find out. And that's the biggest thing, is that's just where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I need to be. Because everybody is at, certain points at their life, they're always where they need to be at that given time.
Right.
So for me, it's here. And if I had left the 3 other times, I wouldn't have been able to start the business that I'm currently doing. I wouldn't have been able to meet a lot of the friends that have really helped me, especially through some hard times. And then I never would have met the girl that I'm currently dating. So
Which I hear is amazing.
she is.
We did talk about her a little bit in the pre-show.
She's the best.
That's awesome.
She's pretty, she's amazing, and she's just perfect.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, that's great. So,
yeah.
so you mentioned, okay, you applied for school. You didn't get in for school. You came to Rexburg anyway.
Yep.
You've tried leaving a few times, and it hasn't worked out. Let's talk a little bit about this, and I promise we're going to talk about the Renaissance Fair.
Go for it.
But this is always so interesting to me, because the whole reason of this podcast is we want people to tell their stories of why they're here in Rexburg, because there's so many reasons why people are here, and I actually share a very similar story, because my wife and I, previous to kind of finally deciding we are going to stay here, we had tried leaving a few times as well, and it never worked out. We're like, hey, this is where we're supposed to be. So I just want to know your experience with that, though. I mean, how did that happen? How did that work? How'd that go?
Well, there was a couple of things that kind of made me realize that. I knew that I was supposed to be here, and I kept applying for school because I knew that I needed to be in school.
Mm-hmm.
I finally got accepted to school, and the same semester that I got accepted to school, I started my own business.
Uh-huh.
And I was doing audio, video, and graphic design for small businesses. So as I was working those and as I was doing that, in a weird way, just as the semester was ending, all of our business dried up. So we had nothing. And so myself and my friend both decided, hey, we're going to go to Colorado where my parents live, Denver area.
Okay.
And we're going to try and see if we can make something work there in the off time, because we were both off that semester. So we left, and we were there for about 6 months. And in that 6 months, we made really good money. But then come January, when school was starting again, I felt the very, very strong pull to come back to Rexburg.
Even though you were doing well out there.
Even though I was doing really well.
Wow.
I ended up coming back to Rexburg. That business didn't necessarily survive just because there wasn't really as much of a market as we wanted there to be.
Okay.
Then I just went back to school and I did another semester. And about the time that I came back, I was looking for something new to do, and that's about the time that I started the Renaissance Fair. But
Okay.
I've always felt the pull to come back to Rexburg, and there's always a reason. And I always, it may take me a year and a half to see the reason,
Sure.
but there's always a reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. And it's just so interesting. There's such a spirit about Rexburg that is so unlike any other place. It was actually Travis was telling me we were driving somewhere yesterday together, and he was telling me, I think it was in a recent commencement speech at BYU Idaho, that it was one of the general authorities of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that was talking about how Rexburg will continue to grow, how there is a special pull that brings people here and they don't know why. And that resonated with both him and I, because we're like, oh my gosh, like in our field of work that we do, we hear these stories all the time, and people are just, we'll be, showing a home to somebody and they'll be like, we don't know why we're here. We just feel like we're supposed to be. We're just like, well, you guys have a lot more faith than we do, because I don't know that I could do something like that. So,
just have to be there.
Yeah. Yep. So let's jump a little bit into the Renaissance Fair. Tell me a little bit about how this idea came about and how you started it and how long it's been going on.
So, growing up in Colorado has a very large Renaissance Fair.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know, those are the viewers that don't know what a Renaissance Fair is. It's a medieval/fantasy fair where people can go back, essentially step through the gates, and it's like going back in time and into myth and history, and just seeing, we have a lot of activity and entertainment and things like that. We have magicians, we have knights that fight with real steel weapons. We have characters that you can interact with and talk to and things like that.
And are these events you went to growing up as a kid?
Funny enough, I only ever went to the Colorado Renaissance Fair one time.
No kidding.
In my entire life. My family goes repeatedly every summer.
Okay.
Because it opens in the very last weekend in May and goes until like the second week in August.
Okay.
And it's every weekend. And the Colorado Renaissance Fair, my family always goes. So my brothers and sisters, they take their kids and their families and they go. And myself personally, I ever went the once.
That's so
and
funny.
I remember sitting there and going in and thinking I think I was maybe 10 or 12 or
Okay.
something. I remember thinking how cool this was.
Yeah.
How walking through this little village, or, seeing all of these people that were vending and food and entertainment, and, there was these actors that would have wooden swords, and you could buy a wooden sword and you could fence with them as you were walking through. And it was this whole immersive experience that I just loved.
Yeah.
It was an escape from reality, and sometimes we need escapes from reality.
Every day we need an escape from reality.
Definitely. Yeah. It's why film and television are so big, is
right.
because people like to, take a break.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with taking a break. And I just remember how much fun that was. And for me, when I got back to Rexburg after being in Colorado for that 6 months, it was the very beginning of 2017, I was looking for something new to do, because I've always had a business. My first business I started when I was 6 years old. I got this, found it at some thrift store. It was this old shoe shine kit.
Okay.
Had a box where you could put your foot and you could shine shoes, just like they did in the 20s on the street.
Right,
you had those
right.
kids that would shine shoes.
Yeah.
And as a 6-year-old, my dad showed me how to shine shoes, and he taught me, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. So I would shine shoes for $1 a pair. It lasted about 3 months until somebody was like, hey, I have 30 pairs of shoes for you. and
Never mind, I give up.
Yeah, exactly. And as a 6-year-old, I think I got through 10 pairs of those, and I was like,
wow.
I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. And so I've always done a business. I've done everything from when I was a teenager, I started washing windows. And I washed windows for a while. I got a whole kit and everything, and I washed windows, and I made money that way. And then I built ponds for a little bit.
Built ponds?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not very hard. You dig a hole, you line it with plastic, you
Fill it with water. Yeah.
People think it's a very complex process. It really isn't once you understand it.
Yeah.
But as a teenager, and I built maybe 2 ponds over the course of that business.
Okay.
But I've always done business. My family has always been that way. My dad has been, he's an entrepreneur himself. He owns a business and he runs that bit. Well, that's not true. Whenever anybody asks us what my dad does, we usually say, we don't know. He messes around because he has a business that he has people that run it for him.
Oh, okay. I see.
And then he does it. So I've always been involved in business. My brothers own their own businesses and things like that. So I was looking for something new to do.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something that I knew would have profitability over the long term, but would also allow me to do something that I very much enjoyed. I didn't want to start a business that after a year I would be sick of it and not want to continue doing it.
Right.
The saying, do something that you love and you never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
It's that thing.
Yeah.
So I was looking at a lot of different options, and I had a discussion, maybe the first year that I was here, about Renaissance fairs. There had been a Renaissance fair that had been previously tried in St. Anthony and had not succeeded.
Okay.
This was several years prior to ours. And so I sat down and I said, what would it take to do a Renaissance fair, number one? Number two, what do we lack in this area? And three, is there a market for it? So I spent almost 3 months just doing market research about the area, just seeing if it was viable.
Sure.
Collecting data and looking at things. And I also started researching what does well at other Renaissance fairs, what sells and what doesn't.
And at this point, had you still just been to the one Renaissance fair?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
I have actually, in my life, I've been to technically 4, and 3 of those are my own.
I love it.
Yeah, so,
but you just went for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So what was really nice is I met a guy when I was first here. His name's Ainsley Ferguson.
Okay.
He does all of the magician and fire shows at our fair. And Ainsley does, he had been doing Renaissance fairs since he was like 16.
Okay.
And he worked the Texas Renaissance Fair, Sherwood Forest Fair in Texas, these big fairs, and he'd been working them forever.
Which are some of the largest fairs, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Texas Renaissance Fair is the largest in the United States. It pulls in almost 1 million people a year.
Wow. That's so many people.
It's it's a lot, and they're only open for, I believe it's 5 or 6 weekends a year.
Wow. 1 million people in just that short amount of time.
They always do a sale on their website just around this time, actually. And it's the first 5,000 tickets that are purchased, and within 10 minutes they're sold out.
They're gone. That's like a Garth Brooks concert.
Yeah.
And it just goes crazy fast. Yeah.
Yeah. And that 5,000 is usually done at like half price, and that sells out extremely fast.
Wow.
People buy those tickets very far in advance, and they are, $40 tickets to get into the fair.
So it's not cheap.
It is not. No.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So it is definitely an experience. It's medieval Disneyland.
I was just gonna. I was almost gonna say that exact comment. Okay.
So most Renaissance fairs, that's what they are.
Okay.
They have their own location. They have buildings, and our eventual goal is to get there. But so our Renaissance fair, I met Ainsley, and he had been working those fairs. And he had a lot more experience in certain things than I did. And while I was doing the market research, I would ask him questions and get his opinion on things and stuff like that. He is still a major part of the fair even today. So for the last 3 years, he recently, there's recently an article in East Idaho News, EastIdahoNews.com recently did an article on him.
Okay.
Where he talked about our fair and other fairs that he's done. And he is probably one of the most prolific entertainers in East Idaho.
Wow.
He's one of the few that works full-time.
Okay.
There's not a lot of full-time entertainers, and that's what he does.
Wow. I could imagine there's not too many of them.
Yeah.
So.
No, not at all. Especially in East Idaho.
Well,
and
you
go
and
anywhere,
probably what I mean, just looking at the screen, guy's pumping fire out of his mouth.
Yes.
There can't be too many of those.
Not at all.
That's wow.
He often says the phrase that his mother hates the most is, "Hey mom, check this out."
Sure. Sure, that was a difficult childhood of raising him.
Yeah, probably. He's
funny.
he's a good friend, and he helped us work out the kinks.
Okay.
So we had our first year in 2017, and our first year went really well. It was small, it was kind of rinky-dink, but people enjoyed it.
Okay. This was the one at Twin Bridges?
No, that was the one the year before.
Okay.
So our very first year, we were at a private piece of property out east of Rexburg.
Okay.
And we had, it was small. I think we had 7 vendors.
Oh, wow.
In
Okay.
total, and it was just all the
Yeah.
entertainment. Most people came, they stayed for half an hour, 45 minutes. They saw one part of our night's tournament and they left.
Okay.
But then the next year we were able to grow it even more.
How did you feel after the first year? Did it feel promising? Did you feel like, oh man, like, is it going to make it? Do we make a mistake? Is the community going to accept it? Or what were your feelings after that first year?
I had mixed reviews.
Okay.
Yeah, or mixed feelings about it. On one hand, we had just finished this event that had taken a lot of time and planning.
Yeah.
And a lot of money. And at that time, all of it was my personal money.
Okay.
So everything that went into the fair was out of my own pocket.
Wow.
Because at the time, you'd go to a business and the business would say, let's see how you do your first year.
Sure. Yeah.
And before they'd want to support it, which is totally understandable. As a business owner, somebody coming to me with a brand new event that has no traction, has no provability.
Makes sense.
That's totally fine.
So this was a big risk on your part to do this.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
But it was more a calculated risk than anything else.
Okay.
It wasn't that I just was like, hey, I'm going to go out and start a fair.
Right.
It was, okay, I've done the market research. I think it can be profitable.
Okay.
I've looked at all of the numbers, and I see that there's the ability for it to be profitable. You just have to do it right.
Gotcha.
And so we had, I think a lot of the reason that we survived that first year was because it was new. It was something that people had seen other places, but wasn't here.
Gotcha.
And people had seen and loved other places. What's nice about Rexburg is it's such a big...
It's such a transient community.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a lot of people that are from, other parts of the United States and other parts of the world that have seen Renaissance fairs before, but there's not one up here, so they don't go.
Right.
And then when one is introduced, they go, hey, that's awesome. Let's go to the Renaissance fair.
Yeah.
Because a Renaissance fair is fun. People recognize Renaissance fairs as being this immersive experience that they can escape from the real world.
Right.
And so that was our first year. And, most events like this will not break even for 5 years.
Wow.
They usually operate in the negative for their first 5 years.
Wow.
So you have to pour a lot of income.
Sure.
You have to pour a lot of capital into them. But what was nice is that our first year we broke even.
Okay. That's impressive.
Yes.
That's really impressive.
So, yep, we broke completely even. I think it was a difference of like $20 or $30.
Wow.
It was
wow.
It was
hey,
that
that's
close.
something though. That's awesome.
So our next year, we put a little bit more money into it. We grew a little bit. We found a new location that kind of helped cut back on the failures of the location previously.
Sure.
We changed some things about our shows. We tried to add more things that were immersive to people. And so what ended up happening is our second year, we did it at Twin Bridges Park in Ryrie.
Okay.
And we started to see that more people were coming and they were staying for longer periods of time.
Interesting.
Because we had more entertainment.
Okay.
We had, we had more shade.
Uh-huh.
Our first year was an open field.
A little bit hot.
No shade.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. It was a little bit less hot. It was an enjoyable time. People would come, they'd see the shows, and they would spend several hours there because we had even more vendors, because once people saw that it worked the first year, they were willing to support it more the second year.
Sure.
So that was our second year. And so after that year ended, we started looking at how we wanted to expand. And as we were looking at how we wanted to expand, some things happened, and we ended up getting in contact with Yellowstone Bear World. I can't remember exactly how. I think somebody was like, hey, they have a piece of land next to them that was used during the eclipse for RVs or something.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
And so I spent 2 weeks calling Bear World trying to get a hold of their owner.
Yeah.
And I finally got a hold of their owner after 2 weeks of calling
Oh
almost
my
daily.
gosh! Wow,
And
that's
I got
persistence.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I am is
Yeah.
I'm persistent and I'm stubborn. So I will.
Two good qualities of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. I would not have survived if I wasn't. So I sat down with him and we talked about it, and he, we went in, we talked to him, and it was just this. I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna expand just a little bit. We're expecting this many people, and he looks at us and he goes, no, you're gonna get 3 times what you're thinking. And I was like, seriously? And he goes, yeah, because we're gonna help.
Wow.
So they are our biggest sponsor this year.
Very cool.
So they have done a ton of marketing for us and everything else. And so we are in a field just to the east of Bear World, from where you enter Bear World, the entrance, just east of there. And we just did our first weekend. And our first weekend pulled in a good number of people.
Good.
We had more people on our Saturday this last weekend than we had on our very last day of the fair last year, which was our busiest day.
Wow. That's
so
great.
So it's grown a lot.
Yeah.
But we've also put a lot more time and effort and money and things into it.
Well, and your location's fantastic. You got a brand new shiny road going right to it.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Exactly. That road ends like
right at the Renaissance Fair.
Right at the Renaissance Fair.
Oh, that is so awesome. Now, I can't even believe this, but we have like 3 minutes left.
Holy cow.
I know, it's gone so fast. It always does when we have 4 minutes left. Thank you. Okay. Tell people who haven't gone to the Renaissance Fair this year yet, because they will go. Rexburg, you need to go. Tell us what they should expect when they go there.
Expect an experience is what I always tell people.
Okay.
You don't go to the Renaissance Fair expecting, it's going to be exactly historically accurate and everything's going to be
right.
Everything's going to be perfect. No, it's a mixture. Renaissance fairs have always been almost like a medieval Comic-Con.
Okay.
It's just it's a lot of mix between a lot of the themes are medieval, a lot of the mythology that goes into it is medieval mythology and things like that. And expect an experience. Bring your kids, bring your family.
So it's a good family activity.
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so. And we want people to come and enjoy it. We put a lot of time and effort and rehearsals into giving that experience.
Yeah.
You walk into the tavern and you meet the barman who talks to you and says jokes to you. You go and you see the knights tournament and the king is sitting there holding a falcon, and you have knights with steel swords fighting it out for the winner's purse, and it's always good guy against bad guy, and it's just it's an experience. You go because you want to see and be entertained.
Right.
And that's what it is.
And just kind of leave the world behind for a couple hours. And
exactly.
Yeah. So you guys do, so there's a lot of live entertainment.
Yep.
Did you say there were shows every half hour or every hour?
We have shows every half hour. So
wow.
we have
Okay.
on the hour, every hour, we have Ainsley. He does a show.
Okay.
And then we have other shows.
Okay.
We have an escape artist.
Nice.
We have a husband and wife that do a knife show.
Oh,
where
terrifying.
Yes, very much so.
They must really love each other.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure you're always having a good day with your spouse if you're throwing a knife at them.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then we have a comedy show called The Not So Merry Men, and it's Robin Hood's men complaining about their employment conditions. It's a lot of fun. It's very fun. It's entertaining. And then at 2:00 and 4:00 every day, we have the 2 parts of our Knights tournament.
Cool.
So we have 6 Knights that battle it out for the winner's purse.
Wow.
Yep.
That is so awesome. Now, is this something that people can just show up and get their tickets? They need to get tickets ahead of time, or how does that work?
We always suggest, so we have a special event. It's sold out for this year, so we can't, we don't sell any more tickets.
Okay.
It's our King's Feast.
Oh, okay.
And our King's Feast is just a dinner with the king.
Nice.
And you get to choose your meal. It's a very great date night activity. A lot of couples come and they enjoy the meal, and they enjoy the entertainment that comes with it. But that one is sold out. But we always suggest people buy that ahead of time.
Okay.
We usually sell out of that 2 months before the fair.
Wow,
opens.
that's so awesome.
So that's been sold out for about 2 months, and we always suggest people buy their tickets at the gate.
Okay.
Because the ticketing system that we use charges us an extra fee.
Gotcha.
We have no control over it.
Sure, makes sense.
But when you're buying an $8 ticket, you don't want to pay $9.50 for the ticket.
Right, for a convenience fee, yeah.
Buy it at the gate.
Okay, great.
It's just as effective.
Awesome.
and it's a fun time.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for being on the show today. Rexburg, go get off on that Thornton exit, take the shiny new road where it dead ends, go buy your ticket, go through the gates, go leave this world for a few minutes, go be entertained, go watch a falcon fly, go watch fire breathing, go watch fire juggling and spouses that are always having a good day. They're throwing knives at each other.
Yep.
That sounds like an amazing experience. I got to
is.
get my family there. That
Yeah,
sounds like
definitely.
such a blast.
Yes,
So
it is.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. Rexburg, we are going to be back next week with another show. I take that back. We are not. Next week is 4th of July. So we have no show next week. It's not, the Wednesday isn't the 4th. But anyway, no podcast next week. When we return, I believe we're going to be on location. So we're going to take our podcast, take it on location. We're going to be with Yellowstone Brass. Going to be a fantastic show. Going to be live music. Going to be a ton of fun. And again, guys, go visit the Renaissance Fair this year. It's only 2 weekends or 3 weekends.
It's 2 more weekends after this.
Two more weekends after this. So time is limited, guys.
Friday, Saturday, and then the 5th and 6th of July.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Rexburg. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a great 4th of July, and we'll talk to you guys soon.